Here is my recap and review of Titan Season 3, Episode 11, which is entitled The Call is Coming from Inside the House. And again, this is one of those episodes that is freaking all over the place and nothing makes any sense at all. We don't have Barbara in this episode at all. She is off in jail. And we have Donna coming back, does meet up with Tim in the city. They go back to his parents' restaurant, and they're not dead. I was under the assumption that they got killed earlier in the season, but it must have been some patrons that were there. They go in there, and Tim shows his dad, his mom, and Donna that he has this, basically it's a mini Batcave type thing where he's got all these communication devices set up, and it's how he goes, this is how I found out everything about the Titans and Batman and Robin and all of that good stuff. So right there, they're kind of cornered in there. The police are coming in every 6 hours, kind of intimidating them. And there's going to be a group of officers that are going to come in and start taking down the population if they don't fall into line. So Donna starts to come up with a plan to create a resistance there in the city, which again is it's kind of its own story, doesn't match what's going on with everything else. You have Connor and Dick kind of holed up in this old abandoned kind of like water facility or something. It's at that point where Tim gets a hold of Dick and says, meet me at midnight, we're going to end this. And Dick's like, okay. And Connor's like, you can't really go. You know it's a trap. He goes, I know it's a trap. And that's when Connor says, I'm coming with you. And Dick says, no, you're not. This is an example of how bad the writing is. If Connor did go with him, this thing is going to end. He could easily take down Red Hood. This whole show would be over. But because they can't have Connor involved, well, they have Dick get some kryptonite dust that he uses to take out both Connor and Krypto. And then he does go off to fight Red Hood, which happens at the very end of the episode, which starts out pretty cool. But then he ends up getting Jason on the ground, points a gun at him like he's going to kill him, which we know is not going to happen. He backs off. There's a crowd of people in the background that then start heckling Dick as Nightwing and he ends up getting shot in the neck. Blood starts spurting out everywhere, and then they all start beating him to death, and that's when Jason freaks out and runs off. And the guys are all yelling, we did this for you, Red Hood. We did this for you. It's just weird. This is all over the place, okay? At the same time, you have Gar, and he ends up finding, with Rachel, he ends up finding the pit that brought Jason back, and it's there in Gotham City. And again, why is there a Lazarus pit right there inside Gotham City? And as far as I know, you can only use them once, but it's still active apparently, and I have a feeling this is where they're going to bring Dick Grayson because he's dying, because Rachel feels it, and then all of a sudden they're down there, and she says something happened to Dick, and she just everything just bursts out of her, which is weird. Which leads us to the other weird thing that happened in this episode. I told you that Starfire lost her powers. Well, she finds the woman that she's been having these weird visions about, confronts her. While she's confronting her, this guy comes up and wants to kill the girl that Starfire went there to go see. The guy ends up shooting Starfire right in the chest. She all of a sudden does this weird thing, has a vision of what happened to her in the past, and you find out she was the firstborn and didn't have the blood, so could never be the successor in the family. Her sister was born. She has the power, so they tell her, you send the power. I want you to... They had this girl it was a magical spell to take the power from her and send it off to Starfire. So Starfire was never supposed to have the power to begin with. Just some weird story stuff that just is like thrown in here, has no relevance to anything that's going on. It's just very bizarre. But she ends up glowing blue, goes up into the sky, and she didn't have any powers, but when she gets shot, all this weird stuff happens. She goes up into the sky, this beam shoots out of her chest. I think she kills the guy that was going to shoot her. Well, who did shoot her and was possibly going to shoot this other girl, and then she kind of falls to the ground. And then that leads us to the weirdest thing, which is you got Scarecrow inside, and one thing I forgot to mention is that they're inside Wayne Manor, and they took it over. Scarecrow ends up having like a weird breakdown in this episode and slices his face up. And at the very end of the episode, he said, we're not going to have any more masks. During the fight with Dick Grayson and Red Hood lost his mask. And when he goes back, Crane tells him, no more masks. And he walks out of the shadows and his face is all torn up. It's just really all sliced up. It's just really weird. This is just, the whole show is nonsensical. I don't know what to say at this point. The whole thing is completely nonsensical. I don't understand what they're doing. The writing is all over the place. The acting is all over the place. Nothing makes sense. It's just so freaking weird. All right, we got 2 more episodes left in this season. We'll see how this ends up, but I don't have any hope for this season being salvaged at all. All right, we'll see you guys on the next recap.